the paper trail. Let's go, 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 go. Yeah, 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 yeah. For the love of money, niggas come around. For the love of money, some stay around. For the love of money, what a nigga will do. For the love of the money, yeah. I gotta shake it, 12 at night to 5 in the morning. They don't give a fuck now. If it's for the money, niggas gon' bark and they bite like a motherfucking dog. Gotta party like a motherfucking dog. For that cat, I am gon' roof and I'm barking at that cat, and I am gon' take the roof off when I'm riding that ride. Leaning to the left, but I'm steady on the only right. I'm swerving with a purpose, A nigga been sipping on that purple. A nigga been cheaping on that purple. Cause I'm getting money, Cause I'm getting money. And I'm laughing all the way to the motherfucking bank. And I'm telling her, tell me later if she thinking what I'm thinking. Damn me getting money. I walk about the bank and I stuck up in the wheel. Headed to my next big destination. Somewhere where I'm gonna be faded. Sipping on a motherfucking Molotov. Feet in the fucking sand. Looking like a motherfucking distant fucking land myself. Wherever I land, I'm
Israel just destroyed the building where Iran was choosing its next supreme leader. The Assembly of Experts was meeting. The votes were being counted, and then the strike hit. It doesn't look like if anyone survived or not. This was the building where Iran's future was being decided, and now it's rubble. This is Israel going all in on regime change. They're not just eliminating the current leadership, they're preventing anyone from replacing them. Maybe Israel had intelligence about who was being chosen, or maybe they just wanted to stop the process entirely. Either way, this does tell you how deep Israeli intelligence goes. Now, in a second, we'll go over the details of how CIA and Mossad tracked Khamenei before he was killed, because some of these new details are truly shocking. But before we do that, let me explain what this Assembly of Experts is, because understanding this makes the strike even more significant. You see, Iran's supreme leader is chosen by this Assembly of Experts, which is a group of clerics who are elected by popular vote every 8 years. But here's the catch. Not everyone can run in these elections. Only candidates approved by the current supreme leader can appear on the ballot. So Khamenei himself approved everyone that's in that assembly. They ran and Iranians voted, then the winner got the power to choose Khamenei's successor. This process has only been tested once before, in 1989, when the founder of the Islamic Republic, Khomeini, died. Back then, the assembly elected Khamenei as the new supreme leader within the first 48 hours. They moved very fast, the process was smooth, and there were no complications that I know of. But that was peacetime. Khamenei died of natural causes. There was no chaos like we're seeing inside Iran right now. This time it's completely different. Khamenei was killed in an airstrike, and 40 top officials, IRGC is trying to take advantage of it. We have seen reports that IRGC was pushing their candidate to take over as supreme leader because they want to make sure the military has the maximum power possible in the next regime. So maybe this is why the assembly was for the new supreme leader.
Bang, bang. Fire ain't in shit and hit the fan. Bang, bang. Look here. I done told you. I told her. I done told her. I done told you. I done. Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. I done told you. We done took out I done told you. We done took out I done told you too. Now you want to have a group of 88 people meeting in the same goddamn spot during the time of war? We done took out those 88. What the fuck ain't going on? Fire, aim, and shit done hit the fan. Bang, bang. Hey, look at here. Now, this guy on the screen here, I- I'm, 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 I'm not confused, not even a little bit. I know this is the big stage we're on, and this is all theater. Grey poo pun type shit. All right, so bang bang on that as well. But we see here on the screen here, we got Gilbert Goffrey. So we want to make sure we don't see this guy walking around in the Americas somewhere because they supposed to have had bunkers all over the motherfucking place because they like to kick around rockets and shit. And I ain't talking going to space. You know you ain't going up there and going out to nowhere. The only space is between you and I. Damn it. So, okay, they took out I done told you number one. Then they put another I done told you number two. He gone. All right. So you want to have a meeting to pick a third I done told you with 88 people. The vote happened, but it didn't happen because you didn't happen to make it out that motherfucker. What is not going on? Theater at its finest. All right. So that's what's going on today. So the resurrection is over. Jesus is now out the motherfucking cave. All right. All right. So that's what's going on. 3 days is the resurrection, right? So I guess you would count Friday night, Saturday, Sunday would have been the actual resurrection if because they started on the weekend for some odd reason. Like, why it only start to rain on the weekend or you get bad weather on the weekend? They chose to go to war on the weekend. It was the morning, so it had to be like Saturday morning for these people out there at charity in the morning. So you got an insider who's giving you the inside so you can go and take out they insides from the outside. You dig? So, okay, so this is where we at right now. We're in full blown theater. All right, so I guess you gotta fire aim and shit and hit the fan anyway. So again, the first step to this was oof, beautiful. I got I got something beautiful for later. This is a 1989 well said problem here that we're dealing with here in 2026. And I'm gonna get to that why this is a 1989 problem that we're dealing here right now in present time in 2026. And now I do want to say now these guys can play different parts, just like Jim Carrey came out with the big beard at first, and he said, "Hey, if I'm not with this beard, that ain't me." Basically, is what Jim Carrey was saying. So now we got these big guys over there, these Shiites, whatever the fuck they want to be called over there, dressing in skirts and shit all day, dresses, aprons, whatever the fuck. I don't even know why y'all still walking around in that shit. You know we got trousers now. Never mind that. Never. But these motherfuckers are rich as hell, walking around in your choir robe daily with a fucking head wrap, boy. Why are you dressed like grandma about to go back to bed? What is going on here? So maybe that's what the regime is about to do here. The new regime is about to switch up how maybe these people are dressing. Maybe it's going to be some. It's going to be from the cost of our tax dollars, liaison or via the you said somehow through hook crook. Yeah. They gonna get money to pay for all this shit by hook or crook. Yeah. When I say by hook or crook, yeah. Our ass is already on the hook for fronting the bill. I mean, we automatically get it taken out of our checks, and every time you use your Federal Reserve note, guess what? You also pay. I don't give a fuck if somebody tells you they know where that money is going. No, you don't. What you mean you know where that money is going? Point it out. Yeah, I'll tell you what it's going. It's going to reconstruct this money that is about to be taken from us in the form of oil. Oil is supposed to surge probably at $100 a barrel. I mean, imagine if this Strait of Hormuz does get taken down for 90 days or something like that, where they say, 15 to 20% of the oil passes through daily, whatever. So imagine for 90 days they shut this down. Anyway, why do we need oil from Iran anyway? And where was your antennas when I needed that goddamn oil? Well, so this breaks a whole new mold open. Like, so when I say that something bigger is going on than just this WWE match, this what do you call it when everybody gets in the cage? This cage match. Yeah. Something other than this WWE cage match and how they're about to go up on everything. Cause yeah, if oil goes up, guess what else goes up? The gallons of gas, of course, to get to the store to get your groceries, which are about to go up in turn as well too. Because guess who else needs gas to get to the grocery store to drop the groceries off? The motherfucking tractor trailer, right? So that motherfucker gas is about to go up. Food is about to go up because they got to pay more in gas. Nah, bitch. Yeah. We charging you more to drop this load out. So that in turn makes these facilities that sell whatever the fuck they put in this food nowadays to turn up on the price of killing your ass. Yeah. Only the fittest will survive. This ain't got nothing to do with actual missiles and so-called rockets coming over here to America. How they do things in America is so finesse like two times. You know what I'm saying? What they gonna do here is cook up some more of that dope for your food. Fuck up the water a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? Run the unfittest out of town. You know what I'm saying? Make them take the shovel and do it themselves. I'm telling you right now, these characters that are at these top positions, we don't know if this guy is a CIA agent. We don't know if this motherfucking Ayatollah. I still don't believe none of that shit over there. Them bitches could be in America right now, putting on this show out there, spectacular like. Where you want to be at? You want to be in America, huh? Yeah. And we just want to make sure the United States is making sure anybody that wants to come out with their own dollar. Yeah, we don't want no new upcoming people trying to be MLK for their race. Bitch, we will come over there and obliterate this. We will set this motherfucker on hell, not fire. Hell, bitch. Where your goddamn dollar at, bitch? Pull that dollar out. Let me make sure. Okay. And while we over here, bitch, give me that all, bitch. We rule this motherfucker now. I done told you. I told you. I done told you. Both your Ayatollahs gone. Plus your 88 member clan. Bitch, what? Bitch, it set fire to the city on some hell shit. Fire, aim, and shit, and hit the fan. Bang, bang.
Iran right now. This time it's completely different. Khamenei was killed in an airstrike and 40 top officials died with him. The entire leadership structure is in chaos and IRGC is trying to take advantage of it. We have seen reports that IRGC was pushing their candidate to take over as supreme leader because they want to make sure the military has the maximum power possible in the next regime. So maybe this is why the assembly was hit, because we know that assembly had already casted their votes for the new supreme leader. They were actually counting them when the building was hit. So maybe, and I'm just speculating, I don't have any proof here, maybe Israel figured out who was going to win and they didn't like the next guy, so they took out the entire process. Now, the whole process has to start over if enough people are alive. But if enough people in this assembly of experts are not alive, that creates a huge problem. Let me show you what I mean. You see, according to the Islamic Republic's constitution, the assembly of experts is crucial in picking the new supreme leader. And this assembly needs to have at least 59 members in order to have a quorum so they can convene and make their decision, or I guess cast their votes to basically elect the new supreme leader. If there are less than 59 ayatollahs on the assembly, then there is no quorum, and that means they cannot vote on a new supreme leader. So if enough people died in this strike, that means there needs to be a new popular election, but that election cannot take place because all the members need to be vetted by the supreme leader, who's of course not alive anymore. So it does create like a constitutional crisis, but I doubt that's going to have a huge problem in the Islamic Republic, especially at a time of war. I'm sure they'll figure out a way to subvert the constitution. Now, since we are talking about Ali Khamenei, let me show you how CIA and Mossad actually work together to track him, because the new details are truly shocking. According to the Financial Times, Israel had access to traffic cameras in Tehran for over a year. So that means they had access to traffic cameras before the 12-day war, and that access was never taken away even after that war. That's just shocking. But on top of that, one camera was especially valuable. This camera showed where bodyguards of high-ranking officials parked their cars near Khamenei's residence. That means every time a senior official visited Khamenei, their bodyguards parked their car in that same area. And this meant Israel could always figure out which official was actually present in that compound. And on top of that, once Israel knew the cars, they could track the same car across the city of Tehran and build like a routine for these bodyguards, and in return, build a routine for the person they were protecting. In the intelligence field, this was called building a pattern of life, which is very useful if you want to figure out where someone's going to be when you're trying to take them out. Now, of course, this is shocking, and it's so shocking that it's hard to believe that they had this access for over a year and the Islamic regime couldn't figure it out. But it's important to point out that this was just one of hundreds of data points that Israel was using to plan the strike. But there was one problem. Israelis knew from the 12-day war that once fighting starts, Khamenei would disappear into one of his several bunkers across Tehran. And these bunkers were essentially impenetrable with the bombs Israel had. That means if Khamenei went underground, he would be untouchable. That's why the timing of the initial attack was everything. They had to catch him before he knew war was starting. And they had to catch him above ground where he could be taken out. Well, this is where we need to talk about Israeli military doctrine. According to this doctrine, before a strike is carried out, it requires confirmation from two different agents who can confirm that the target is actually in the location where the strike is supposed to take place. Unfortunately for Israel, though, they only had one source confirming that Khamenei would be at this meeting Friday morning. They needed a second one before they can carry out the strike. This is where CIA comes in. CIA had been tracking Khamenei for a very long time too. And on top of that, CIA had something that Israel didn't. A human source on the ground at this morning. Well, guess what? CIA got this confirmation. They passed it along to Israelis, and then the operation was started. Now, just a side note, I don't exactly know how high up this source was, because we do know that Israel was able to penetrate very high up in the Islamic regime. And there's a chance that this source is very high up right now in the regime that's fighting a war with the US. But nonetheless, that's not something we need to worry about, but I'm sure the Islamic Republic is certainly looking for that source right now. But let's get back to our story. Once the intelligence was confirmed, everything moved very fast. 2 hours before the 9:30 a.m. meeting, Israeli jets took off from Israel. As Iranian officials began arriving at the compound, Israel could see the bodyguards' cars in the traffic cameras that they had access to. This is when Israel implemented another safeguard. Israel basically jammed all the phones in the compound. That means the phones appeared busy whenever someone would try to call it. No calls could come through, and that meant the bodyguards had no way to receive warnings ahead of time that jets had entered Iranian airspace. And that means they had no reason to take all these officials who were meeting to a bunker. Then the meeting started. Israeli jets got there roughly 10 minutes after the meeting started and dropped nearly 30 precision-guided munition on the complex. These bombs left nothing to chance. Khamenei, his son, and dozens of senior Iranian officials died in that strike. Since then, the strikes haven't really stopped. Israel has been systematically eliminating the regime's leadership structure. Before we go over that, though, just a quick request to hit the subscribe and like button down below. It really does help us out in the algorithm, especially when covering topics like war, which YouTube is not a fan of. Now, let's go over everyone who Israel has assassinated, because they made this information public. Here's the IDF post confirming everyone that they have killed in what they call axis of terror. At the top, we have the Supreme Leader, then the Chief of Staff, then the IRGC Commander, then the Central Intelligence Commander, IRGC Air Force Commander, Syrian Quds Force Commander, Hezbollah Leader, Hamas Leader, and many more. Most of the top of the regime is gone, and the strikes continue even now. Just this morning, an IRGC building in Tehran was hit. The explosion was so powerful that it scattered top secret documents across the city. Here's the clip of the aftermath of that explosion. Then we also had the Iranian Ministry of Defense get struck this morning. Here's that clip. Then we also had reports about Iranian parliament building getting striked yesterday. This report actually came from the Iranian state media themselves. These strikes tell us one thing. The Iranian buildings, at least the buildings that are known to the world, are not safe anymore. And that's why we are seeing the regime do something desperate and telling. Reports are emerging that IRGC and besieged forces are abandoning their headquarters and relocating to schools, mosques, and hospitals. Why? Well, what we just talked about, because every known military location is getting hit. So they're hiding behind civilians. And we can see this on video. Just this morning, the Iranian foreign minister's spokesperson held a press conference. Look at that background on your screen. That's a classroom, a school. The state is now operating out of elementary schools because their buildings are getting destroyed. And that's what they're willing to show on camera. Imagine what they are not willing to show. This is why I actually believe the reports that say that military forces and besieged forces are moving into schools and operating out of there using the schools as headquarters. The regime that ruled Iran for 46 years is getting desperate, and based on what we are learning, it seems they have nowhere else to hide. So be sure to hit the subscribe button down below to catch up with what happens next. My name is Sam, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Friends, right now, at this very moment, something terrifying is happening in the Middle East. Thoughts of World War III? I know that sounds like clickbait, but trust me, when you hear what has happened in just the last 48 hours, you will understand why even experts are scared. American officials have been injured, the Strait of Hormuz is closed, oil prices are surging, and the United States is now directly at war with Iran. Before we get into the full breakdown, let me quickly ask you to hit that like button if you want to stay updated on this fast-moving situation, and subscribe to The Lost Economy now, because we are tracking how this conflict affects your money, your safety, and the future of the world. Let me tell you exactly what is going on. It all started when the US and Israel launched a major military operation against Iran. And when I say major, I mean major. According to confirmed reports, joint US-Israeli strikes targeted Tehran and other key locations. And the biggest news that shocked the entire world, Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was killed in these strikes. Think about that for a second. The leader of Iran, the man who has been in power for decades, is gone. Multiple senior Iranian commanders were also confirmed dead. Obviously, Iran did not take this sitting down. What happened next was exactly what military analysts have feared for years. Iran hit back, and they hit back hard. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or the IRGC, launched missile and drone attacks targeting US military assets all across the Middle East. We are talking about bases in Kuwait, Bahrain, and even a direct strike on a hotel in Bahrain's capital, Manama. And this is where it gets personal for the United States. Confirmed reports from a U.S. State Department cable reviewed by the Washington Post reveal that 2 U.S. Department of Defense employees were wounded in that drone strike on the hotel. The U.S. Embassy in Bahrain immediately warned American citizens to avoid hotels because they could be targets. So right now, we have American casualties. American blood has been spilled. But the retaliation didn't stop there. Iran also claims they hit 3 U.S. and British tankers in the Gulf with missiles, setting them on fire. And perhaps the most dramatic move? Iran declared the Strait of Hormuz closed. A senior advisor to the IRGC commander went on state television and said, and I quote, "We will not let oil be exported from the region." He warned that naval forces would set ablaze any ship trying to pass through. Now, for those of you watching who might not know why this matters, let me explain why this is such a huge deal and why the Lost Economy now is paying such close attention. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow waterway, but don't let the size fool you. About 1/5 of the world's total oil supply passes through that tiny stretch of water every single day. We're talking about roughly 20 million barrels of oil. When Iran says it's closed, that doesn't just mean trouble for the Middle East, that means trouble for the entire global economy. Right now, shipping companies like Maersk and MSC have already stopped sending their ships through the strait. Insurance costs have gone through the roof. And when supply drops, prices go up. We are already seeing the impact. As soon as markets opened, oil prices exploded. Brent crude jumped 13% to $82 a barrel. US WTI crude shot up over 10%. Now, you might be thinking, okay, gas is expensive, I get it. But this is just the beginning. Experts are warning that if the strait stays closed, we could see oil hit $100 a barrel or even higher, and that hits every single American family directly. Higher prices for groceries because transport costs go up, and more expensive plane tickets. This conflict is already affecting your wallet. Meanwhile, the situation on the ground is getting more violent by the hour. The U.S. Central Command confirmed that 6 American service members have been killed. Let me repeat that. 6 Americans are dead. And in a tragic and confusing incident, 3 U.S. fighter jets were mistakenly shot down by Kuwait air military. Friendly fire incidents like this show just how chaotic and dangerous this conflict has become. The death toll in Iran is devastating. The Iranian Red Crescent says at least 555 people have been killed, but other human rights groups are putting the number much higher. The human rights activist news agency reports that at least 742 civilians have died since the attacks began, including 176 children. Hospitals have been bombed, residential areas hit. The U.S. Embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, was also targeted by drones, causing a fire and some damage. This conflict is no longer just about military targets. It is spreading everywhere. And it's not just Iran and the U.S. anymore. The fighting is now pulled in Lebanon. Hezbollah launched rockets and drones toward northern Israel, hitting a missile defense site. Israel responded with heavy air and naval strikes on Beirut, killing at least 52 people. So now you have a multi-front war. Israel fighting Hezbollah, the U.S. fighting Iran, Iran attacking U.S. allies in the Gulf. This is exactly how regional wars spiral out of control. Back in the United States, Americans are deeply divided on this. Protests are happening across the country. Large crowds are condemning the strikes, holding signs that say, "Hands off Iran" and "Stop the war on Iran." A CNN poll just released shows that 59% of Americans disapprove of the U.S. strikes. That is a majority. People are worried. They remember the long, costly wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and they don't want to go back. When asked about sending ground troops, he said he would not rule it out. And he warned that this campaign has the capability to go far longer than the 4 to 5 weeks he initially projected. So we are looking at a prolonged conflict, not something that ends quickly. Iran is now urging the UN Security Council to condemn the U.S. attacks as aggression and war crimes. But on the ground, the fighting continues. And with the Strait of Hormuz closed, the global economy is holding its breath. So are we heading toward World War III? I can't give you a simple yes or no answer right now. But what I can tell you is that every single indicator is flashing red. Casualties are rising, the front lines are expanding, global markets are in turmoil, and neither side is blinking. This is exactly the kind of crisis that, if mismanaged, could pull in major powers and spiral far beyond the Middle East. In the next part, we're going to dig deeper into what this means for the U.S. economy, how high gas prices could actually go, and whether this conflict could trigger a full-blown global recession. Make sure you are subscribed to The Lost Economy now so you don't miss that, and drop a comment below. I want to know, do you think this is the start of World War III, or can diplomacy still stop this? Let me know your thoughts. We talked about how the conflict started, the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, and the initial casualties. The global economy is not just news, it is a warning sign. And if you do not understand what is coming, you could be caught completely off guard. Let me start with the numbers that matter most to everyday Americans.
Bang, bang. So, pretty much they said the Federal Reserve System runs the oil. The Federal Reserve System runs the oil. So, you got the money, you got the liquid gold, you got the power. So, why? Now, let's just say something real quick here. Why would they be targeting all the oil in the world? Even after they say every Ayatollah down to the 93rd Ayatollah, because they didn't uh, let's just say I'm trying not to be funny for a second here because this shit is outrageously crazy here. Let's just say that you've taken out 2 Ayatollahs, the original one that's been there for 36 years, and you've also taken out the second Ayatollah as well. And you've also taken out 88. These numbers are so crazy. 88, 88. two infinite loops. I mean, look, guys, we all know this is a stage play, but read between the lines of this stage play. That's where you get the emotions and feelings and truth. We all know what it means to read in between the lines, but some stories you cannot read in between the lines because they are just that, a story. It never actually happened. They didn't even get that idea from anywhere. They put a 99 pieces of pies into one. So they just, none of it was real, basically. So you do have those type of stories where you can't read in between the lines, but this type of story right now that they want us all to see, they gave us laptops, computers, and digital equipment for this big show they wanted to put on. So again, we got your boy, Yakubian. He ain't got a four-head, he got a five-head ass boy. And him and his Mobalicious boxcar boy crew. Um, so you got those guys' records that have been going on since the 80s and 90s and all of 2000s. For somehow reason, this guy maintained relevance from the 80s, 90s, and all the way up until 2026. That's a long time in the game. That boy was putting up some numbers on the board. That's a long time in the game around the fame and never be put on the front street until you get shot in the back street on the front street. Were you a front anyway? To uh, I don't even think that this guy. The first jail sentence even seems weird. Like he has to try to act normal, but I swear, I think that you would need garlic and a fucking steak, and then we ain't talking beef, we ain't talking cow. You would need garlic and a steak around this nigga. I don't know about this cat. I don't know about that cat, bro. It just seemed awfully weird to me to be in the game for that long and then you go to jail in the 2000s for the first time. I don't even believe that jail shit. I think it's just him. He could set this shit up himself. He could be the orchestrator of this big show. He could be the main character. I mean, these are all characters on this big show, man. And what's going on here? You got money on one end. You got paper, the paper trail. Let's go. Let's go. Go. Yeah, yeah. And then you got oil on the other end. Now, oil runs a nation. Oil, oil. And for some odd reason, Iran also has the finest oil. I don't believe none of this shit, bruh. I got my Chris Rock hands. You know how he be talking with his hands right now? I don't believe none of it. You know, the Chris Rock hands right now. Yeah, I don't believe none of it. What you mean Iran the only ones with the best oil in the world? Hmm? What is going on? Yeah, 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 yeah. These people on they fire aim and shit they hit the fan for us, not for them. Because if they the ones at the top of this theater, who wrote the motherfucking players? Uh, I I bet you your bottom dollar Epstein wrote this play. I'm not saying that he was in charge years ago. The nigga might need garlic and a motherfucking steak. And we ain't talking cow or beef shit. The nigga might need some garlic. That's all I'm saying. Marvelicious boxcar boys is at it again. Fire aim and shit to hit the fan. Bang bang. So let's see how this takes our prices here in America. And also, guys, pay attention even when you don't want to. These mofos is definitely creating the audible while still playing the main play on your ass. They got two balls on the field. These motherfuckers cheating in our face, and we paying for it. Hmm? They'll never go broke because we front their bill. Whatever they want to do, what the fuck you gonna do about it? Ain't you spending my money? Ain't you spending? I can only let you get so great! Exclamation point! Ass face. Yeah, yeah. They can only let you get so great. That's why they only bring the ones.
to the table that they wanted the table. You can start your own group and get up to that status, but nigga, that's not your money. how, how big are you, shorty? How tall are you, shorty? That's not your money, fam. Who's on the motherfucker? Off back. Ain't you, if you ain't that guy. Yeah. You can play the game, but you can't play the game. Not you by your goddamn lonesome, not with all the money in the world. It takes we the people. Not with all the money in the world. It takes we the people to do anything magnificent, great, exclamation point, amazing. It's gonna take we. I ain't gonna do it. Even though you got two of them, I ain't gonna do it. Because if I don't make it through, I didn't do it. But we, I never thought I would say this, but the we, power unfathomable, that we, bang bang.
Blinking. This is exactly the kind of crisis that, if mismanaged, could pull in major powers and spiral far beyond the Middle East. In the next part, we're going to dig deeper into what this means for the US economy, how high gas prices could actually go, and whether this conflict could trigger a full-blown global recession. Make sure you are subscribed to The Lost Economy now so you don't miss that, and drop a comment below. I want to know, do you think this is the start of World War III, or can diplomacy still stop this? Let me know your thoughts. We talked about how the conflict started, the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, and the initial casualties, but now we need to talk about something that affects every single person watching this video: your wallet, your savings, your gas tank. Because what is happening right now in the global economy is not just news, it is a warning sign. And if you do not understand what is coming, you could be caught completely off guard. Let me start with the numbers that matter most to everyday Americans: oil prices. On Friday, before this conflict exploded, a barrel of Brent crude was sitting at around $72. Then the strikes happened, and by Monday morning, prices had jumped 13%, hitting above $82 a barrel. Now, you might think, okay, $10 more per barrel, how much difference does that really make at the pump? Let me break it down for you. Every $10 increase per barrel typically translates to about 25 to 30 cents more per gallon of gasoline. That means if you have a 15-gallon tank, you're paying $4 to $5 more every single time you fill up. Do that twice a week. We are talking about $40 a month. For a family with 2 cars, that is $80 a month. Almost $1,000 a year just in extra gas costs. And that is if prices stop here. But experts are warning that this is just the beginning. The reason prices are spiking is simple: supply and fear. The Strait of Hormuz handles about 1/5 of the world's total oil consumption. We are talking about more than 20 million barrels of oil every single day passing through that narrow waterway. Saudi Arabia, Iraq, the UAE, Kuwait, Qatar, all of them send their oil through that strait to reach customers in China, Japan, India, and yes, sometimes indirectly to the United States. When Iran says the strait is closed, and when they prove they are willing to attack tankers, shipping companies get scared. Insurance premiums go through the roof, and some ship owners simply refuse to sail into a war zone. That means less supply available on the global market, and less supply means higher prices. It is basic economics. But here is where it gets even more complicated. On Monday, we saw oil prices ease back slightly to around $78 a barrel. Some analysts thought maybe the worst was over. But then Tuesday came, and prices started climbing again. West Texas Intermediate, that is the US benchmark, went up another 2.2% to almost $73. Brent climbed 2.8% to nearly $80. And here's the scary part. A senior commander in Iran's Revolutionary Guard made a threat that should send chills down the spine of anyone who drives a car, flies on a plane, or buys food at a grocery store. He said, and I quote, "We will burn any ship seeking to navigate the Strait of Hormuz. We will also attack oil pipelines and will not allow a single drop of oil to leave the region. Oil price will reach $200 in the coming days." $200 a barrel. Think about that number. If that happens, we are looking at $6, maybe $7 a gallon at the pump. A full tank of gas for an SUV could cost over $100. Airline tickets would skyrocket because jet fuel is one of their biggest expenses. The price of everything you buy at the grocery store would go up because trucks need diesel to transport food across the country. This is not just about Iran and the US anymore. This is about your cost of living. And it is not just oil. Natural gas prices are also exploding. European natural gas prices spiked almost 40% after Qatar, one of the world's largest liquefied natural gas producers, announced they had halted production. Why? Because Qatar sits right there in the Persian Gulf. And when the Strait of Hormuz becomes a war zone, nothing moves safely. Europe depends heavily on LNG from the Gulf region. Now, heading into spring and summer, when countries typically build up storage for the next winter, they're facing a supply shock. That means higher energy bills for millions of households. Now, let's talk about what this means for the global economy beyond just energy. Stock markets around the world are taking a beating. And I am not talking about small drops. In South Korea, which is a major exporter and highly dependent on energy imports, the stock market plunged more than 7%. Samsung, one of the biggest companies in the world, saw its stock fall almost 10% in a single day. SK Hynix, another tech giant, dropped more than 11%. Why? Because investors are terrified. A prolonged conflict in the Middle East means uncertainty, and markets hate uncertainty. Japan's Nikkei index fell more than 3%. Hong Kong, Shanghai, Sydney, all of them sharply lower. Airlines are getting crushed because fuel costs are going up, and people may cancel travel plans. Japan Airlines down 6%. Cathay Pacific down 3%. Qantas down almost 2%. This is a global sell-off. And here's the dilemma facing the Federal Reserve and central banks around the world. You have a situation where energy prices are spiking, which drives inflation higher. Normally, central banks fight inflation by raising interest rates. But at the same time, a war and supply disruptions slow down economic growth. So if you raise rates to fight inflation, you might push the economy into a recession. If you cut rates to support growth, inflation spirals out of control. This is called stagflation. And as one economist from National Australia Bank put it, stagflation makes central banks very, very uncomfortable. The dollar is actually strengthening right now because investors are rushing into safe assets. When the world gets scary, people buy US dollars, but that creates its own problems. A strong dollar makes American exports more expensive for other countries to buy. It also makes it harder for countries that have dollar-denominated debt to pay it back. So even though the US is the safe haven, the American economy is not immune to the pain. Meanwhile, back in Washington, the political battle is heating up. And he has laid out clear objectives: destroy Iran's missiles, destroy their navy, destroy their nuclear program, and stop their support for armed groups across the region. Notice what is not on that list: toppling the Iranian government. That is a deliberate choice. The administration knows that occupying Iran would be a nightmare. But even with limited objectives, this conflict could drag on for months. In the next part, we're going to look at the global fallout, how China, India, and Europe are scrambling to protect their economies, whether Russia might benefit from all of this, and most importantly, what you can do to protect yourself and your family if this conflict drags on. Make sure you are subscribed to The Lost Economy now so you do not miss that, and drop a comment below. I want to know, are you already feeling the impact of higher gas prices where you live? And do you think Congress should step in to stop this war? Let me know your thoughts. We have covered how this conflict started, how it escalated, and how it is already affecting your wallet. But now we need to look at the bigger picture, because this war is not just between the United States and Iran anymore. The entire world is being dragged in, and the outcomes we are about to discuss will determine whether we are heading for a quick resolution, a prolonged conflict, or something even worse. Let me break down exactly what is happening on the global stage and what it means for you. First, let's talk about the winners and losers in this conflict. And yes, there are winners. The most obvious winner right now is Russia. I know that sounds strange. Russia was Iran's closest partner in the Middle East. They signed a 20-year strategic partnership just last year. So how can they be winning? Because when oil prices go up, Russia makes more money. Russia exports nearly 5 million barrels of crude oil every single day. Every dollar increase in the price of oil means millions of extra dollars flowing into the Russian treasury. And right now, with the Strait of Hormuz closed and Iranian oil off the market, global prices are climbing. Brent crude is flirting with $80 a barrel. Some analysts are warning we could see $100 soon. Kremlin propagandists are openly celebrating. One of them, Vladimir Solovyov, went on state television and said, and I quote, "For our budget, the attack on Iran is a big plus." He told his viewers that if Iranian oil fields are hit, Russia could become one of the few remaining oil-producing countries left standing.
Bang, bang. This is the moment of clarity. Talk to me. Fire, aim, and shit that hit the fan, huh? So you got your boy Vladimir, bare face ass, We got Vladimir. Need garlic in the steak for his face ass too. Look, check it. So we got Russia finally coming into the picture being talked about. Now, mind you, 6 or 7 months ago, Russia said they had some shit on trumpets, right? They put out some stuff on Melania, right? They put out some stuff on Melania, right? Well, they showed some unclothed pictures of Melania about 6 or 7 months ago now, when she was doing little Playboy photos and whatnot. You know what I mean? So they got those photos and they put them up online about 6 or 7 months ago. Crazy. Now we at this point, and Russia is the one that's gonna benefit off of this, mind you. Ivanka. Hmm. Wonder what her background is, huh? Huh? It's man. I know this girl ain't no Russian. Don't tell me she a salt spy too, or whatever it may be. At this point, that's all I'm saying. Because these stage characters can flip on your ass. They can become the pillar of whatever you think you want them to be. Like, let's go to a Tyler Perry play. Well, this guy comes out multiple different people. Hmm? Okay, then. Let's go to these masks that they have that make you look like whoever you want to look like. Huh? Talk to me. So now we got Russia on the back end because nobody else can get any off of my van. So guess what? My door's open. Bring your bitch asses on back. He said, "Come on back home. Come on back home to me, you bitch ass niggas." Yeah. And did this comedian, uh, the comedian Zelensky, didn't he just also say, "Hey, America, if y'all need help, I can send some people out there." But you got all our people out there helping you. What you mean you gonna send some help to help? What is not going on? Don't tell me. I can see with my own motherfucking eyes, bitch. Yeah. Crazy, crazy. Yeah. These are thoughts that you couldn't even think, but the play is written so well. It's so interesting. It's so Days of Our Lives. Young and the Restless. Soap operas. Hmm. At its finest. Theater, baby. Yeah. Now this gonna ride out into the sunset for a good little minute. But how long is a good little minute? Hmm? This is straight from the pen of your boy Yakub. Him and his mobilicious boxcar bar gang.
Winning. Because when oil prices go up, Russia makes more money. Russia increasing the price of oil means millions of extra dollars flowing into the Russian treasury. And right now, with the Strait of Hormuz closed and Iranian oil off the market, global prices are climbing. Brent crude is flirting with $80 a barrel. Some analysts are warning we could see $100 soon. Kremlin propagandists are openly celebrating. One of them, Vladimir Solovyov, went on state television and said, and I quote, "For our budget, the attack on Iran is a big plus." He told his viewers that if Iranian oil fields are hit, Russia could become one of the few remaining oil-producing countries left standing. That is a gift to Vladimir Putin. Higher oil revenues mean more money to fund the war in Ukraine, more money to keep his economy afloat despite sanctions, and more time to wait out the West. But Russia is not the only winner. Energy producers in Africa and the Americas are also benefiting. Canada, Norway, even the United States itself, because America is now a major oil exporter. When global prices rise, American energy companies make more profit. That is good for the stock market. But it is not so good for American families who have to pay more at the pump. And that brings us to the losers. The biggest losers are the countries that have to import their energy. China imports about 99% of Iranian oil exports. That is roughly 13% of all Chinese seaborne crude imports. If Iranian barrels are disrupted, Chinese refiners have to find supply somewhere else, and that somewhere else is more expensive. So China is getting squeezed. India is getting squeezed. Europe is getting squeezed. And the smaller economies with weak currencies and low foreign exchange reserves, countries like Argentina, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and Turkey, they are the most vulnerable of all. They face the risk of capital flight, currency depreciation, and economic instability. The Turkish central bank has already suspended some of its normal market operations just to try to protect the currency. And think about Europe for a moment. The Eurozone was just starting to show signs of recovery after years of stagnation. Now they're facing an energy shock. Europe imports almost all of its oil and a huge amount of its natural gas. If prices stay high, it could trigger memories of the energy crisis we saw back in 2021 to 2023. Higher heating bills, higher electricity costs, higher prices for everything. And all of this at a time when the European economy is fragile. Meanwhile, back in Washington, the political debate is getting louder. Democrats are furious that President Trump launched this operation without congressional approval, that current intelligence shows Iran is about a decade away from having missiles that could reach the United States. Senator Mark Warner said he saw no indication that Iran was about to launch any kind of preemptive strike against America. Said he is heartbroken by the loss of American lives and that Congress must act to restrain the president. But the reality is, even if Congress passes a war powers resolution, Trump will veto it. And there are not enough votes in either chamber to override that veto. So for now, the president has a free hand. On the international front, the United States is facing widespread condemnation. The United Nations Human Rights Chief, Volker Turk, warned that further attacks would bring, and I quote, death, destruction, and human misery. Russia said the strikes are pushing the region toward a humanitarian and economic crisis. China called for an immediate halt to military action and said Iran's sovereignty and territorial integrity should be respected. Even America's allies are uneasy. Norway's foreign minister said Israel's strikes breached international law. Britain, France, and Germany jointly condemned Iran's retaliation, but made clear they did not take part in the U.S.-Israeli operation. France's President Emmanuel Macron is calling for an urgent UN Security Council meeting. The world is worried. And they are worried because they know that this conflict could spiral out of control in ways no one can predict. So what happens next? Let me walk you through the most likely scenarios. And I want to be clear, these are based on expert analysis, not speculation. Scenario 1 is the most dangerous. Iran continues its retaliation. They still have a substantial arsenal of ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and drones. They also have proxy forces in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen who can target American troops in Israeli cities. If Iran decides to go all in, we could see attacks on U.S. bases across the region, naval assets in the Gulf, and even Israeli population centers. That would widen the conflict dramatically. And if Hezbollah joins fully, Israel could be fighting a two-front war. Scenario 2 is regional escalation spinning out of control. If the Houthis in Yemen, militias in Iraq, and Hezbollah in Lebanon all coordinate their attacks, Gulf states hosting American bases could become targets from multiple directions. That would massively complicate U.S. military strategy. And it could draw in other regional powers who feel threatened by the chaos. Scenario 3 is something the Trump administration is hoping for: protests inside Iran. The president has openly called for regime change. He told the Iranian people, when we are finished, take over your government. And it is true that Iran has seen massive protests over the past year. The regime has cracked down brutally. Some human rights groups estimate that thousands have been killed. The strikes could embolden young Iranians to take to the streets again. But here's the problem. The regime has a long record of crushing dissent quickly and effectively, and U.S. military action could trigger a nationalist backlash. Many Iranians who hate their government still hate foreign intervention even more. Scenario 4 is the return of the crown prince. Reza Pahlavi, the son of Iran's last Shah, lives in exile. He has networks in the diaspora and some support inside the country. If the regime fractures, he could try to position himself as a transitional figure. But Iran's political landscape is fragmented. Pahlavi is unpopular with many Iranians. Any return scenario would be messy and contested. And if you found this series helpful, please share this video with someone who needs to understand what is really going on. Share it on Facebook, on Twitter, send it to a friend.